Um, and we're officially being recorded. Thank you very much. On members attending, Chris Shipper, Linda Andros, Susan Schweitzer, and John Fusick. Also attending, Tiger Mann, Sven England, and the Kaiser from IT. I will call the meeting to order, and I would like to start by having a moment of silence for Cam Hutchins, who was with us, and I'll suggest we just take 1 minute and personally think back on some of the moments of Cam's help and support. Thank you all. Linda and Susan, you served with Cam quite a long time. If you have any comments you'd like to make or wish to say anything with regards to Cam, I'd be happy to hear your thoughts.
Well, he was very, very dedicated to the Conservation Commission, and which is a testament to the fact that he continued to stay on even after, he was not feeling so well. His commitment was so strong. His leadership was excellent. So yes, I will miss him.
Mhm.
May his soul and the souls of all departed rest in peace. Amen.
Amen.
I think Cam took over the chairmanship after John Lewis. I'm not sure about the name, but I think that's who it was.
Tom Lewis, I think, wasn't it?
And resigned that chairmanship, I believe, shortly after his diagnosis. And then, Chris, that's when you took over. But he was very dedicated to the service of public spaces and the natural landscape of New Canaan. It was impressive.
That was
Wasn't he on the Land Trust Board as well?
actually on Julia Portal, his wife, was on the board.
Oh, I see.
So we sort of got a twofer there. But without, everyone recognized Cam cared deeply about New Canaan. And and in ways he played a role throughout that, and he was always willing to let his voice be heard. So Cam, will continue in your honor to kind of carry on and make conservation an important aspect of New Canaan. On that point, I'd like to welcome John Fusick to the commission. By interest, John and I were together on the Land Trust Board originally. We were the first two new members in many, many years. And at that time, we also got to know Julia and Cam. So I feel happy that there's this sense of continuation with John joining. And John, I thank you very much for stepping up and joining. And if you want to say any words, we're more than welcome.
I'll just say hello to everyone, but I feel honored to step into Cam's spot here and echo what everyone said, that those are incredibly big shoes to try and fill. And we were just at his service and at the reception at that point. And I think every single person who left there left feeling incredibly touched by Cam and what a wonderful human he was, in addition to all the good work that he's done around town just throughout his entire life. And I think it's totally fair to say that every person who's come in contact with him has left a better person. So definitely honor Cam and feel and I'm happy to be on the board and try and step into their shoes.
Welcome.
on
John.
to the commission.
I think Cam would be amused by having that dog bark.
But that would be a new member of the commission.
Exactly.
It's not on my side, so I'm not sure. the dog-
Nah, that's Jingles. I'm gonna let him in. I'm gonna
Not
let him
mine.
Jingles is going to be a big donor.
Yeah. All right. So the meeting has been called to order. The attendance has been taken. We'll start with approval of the minutes, and I believe it's miswritten in the agenda of June 10th. We're actually approving the July 8th minutes. And again, Susan, great job. Oh, great job in, oh no, I'm backwards here. One sec. No, Susan, great job in doing the minutes. I think it's a great summary. I move to approve the minutes.
There's just one slight little correction. There's only 6 New Canaan High School students, not 16.
Got it. Susan, you have that?
On the river water testing update.
Right. I'll
Just
get
a-
it.
Oh, just six students, not 16.
Great.
Okay. The other thing I would like to ask is that we clarify, there was an attendant at our last meeting whose name I never got. I think his first name was Glenn. Does anybody know who that is, or we should just erase it from the minutes?
I think we should take it out because I do not recall that at all. It might have been a momentary,
It was
Yeah.
in the audio and I didn't get it.
Oh,
right?
really?
Okay,
don't-
well, let's just omit that thing.
Remember,
All right, with those two corrections, can I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes of July 8.
All in favor?
All
Linda,
right,
Susan, I assume you'll say yay.
no, sorry.
All right, minutes approved. Let's just go right to the agenda. I'm sensitive to everyone's time. On the Conservation Commission mission for sustainable and other aspects, sustainable New Canaan. We did have the mailer went out, and I think there was some positive feedback from people who saw it. Tiger, thank you so much for helping get that message out. It's just another way that we can communicate. And I heard from several people that it was, it was appreciated that we took advantage of that at that mailing. I believe that Robin will give us an update at the next Conservation Commission meeting on sustainable CT certification, and I believe they're scheduling a broad meeting in September.
Correct.
Linda, would you like to give any updates regarding water testing or information?
Well, they've continued to do the testing as scheduled. And they have, I think, a couple of more this month and then into October. And then once all the data is collected, then Sarah with the science team will analyze the results, lab results, and give us a report. Hopefully in November.
Okay, that sounds great. And I think we'll also be getting a river testing report from Harbor Watch. It generally comes out in late winter, early spring. So
Right.
that progress is there. So thanks. I'm excited to have the high school students working on it, and I'm excited to get some of that information out and share it more broadly.
Can I ask where the water testing is being done?
There are 6 locations upstream inlet on Richmond Hill Road, then one just below baseball fields, inside Bristow on the bridge, downstream Old Stamford Road culvert, Bristow Pond, exit the spillway, and then off of Weed Street, Indian Waters Drive.
Thank you.
John, the focus was to, identify the learnings around the Bristow sanctuary. So we're going upstream and downstream to Bristow.
Got it.
That's in addition to the river testing that goes on at Norotan, Rippewam, and 5 Mile
Mhm.
rivers. So,
It's
Great.
also in addition to what we do on the town side. So we have, we do testing for all of our outlets. in all 6 of the watersheds. And then we're working with the Harbor Watch as well. We're monitoring 6 locations that we have been seeing elevated levels at, and we'll be actually tracing back one. They came back and did secondary testing on one area, and we were unhappy with the results. So we'll be now basically doing illicit discharge and detection, kind of tracing it back to see exactly where it's coming from.
Elevated levels of what, Tiger?
E. coli.
Oh,
Mhm. We're doing this testing, and I'm delighted, and we need to share the results and get more awareness out about the importance of our, freshwater, which is one of New Canaan's greatest natural resources as you look around the world. I will note and welcome Robin Bates Mason to the meeting. And I think that, Robin, we can just turn right to you at this point. Waveney native tree planting program, trees been ordered, or we have timing on that?
Actually, that's the Tiger. That's going to be the tree warden. Is there any update on that?
Yeah, I just sent you an email back. We ordered the trees. PO's been processed. Bob selected, the tree warden, Bob Horan, has selected the locations, and he's looking at September, kind of a later September, early October plantings, coordinating that with the highway department right now. Right now it's just way too hot. And then we'll work on that. So yeah, he's well in at present.
Great. Good. That's a great program. Robin, I wasn't going to get an update on food scrap recycling until next meeting, unless you want to.
No, I've actually been away most of this month, so
Good.
I haven't even gone over to look at it. Don Smith does send me the updates. Typically, I just haven't received one recently. But I think it's going well.
Yep.
We're doing twice weekly pickups through the summer, just to try to keep the smell down, so to speak. The past 10 weeks or so have been 6 containers that we've been picking up. So I think that the twice weekly is kind of the per pickup levels are low. I don't have what we've had picked up since July 16, but up until that time we were just approaching, I think, 15 ton at that point in time, which is nice. So we're on our I think we're doing quite well.
Yeah, one of the last weekly updates I received was the highest amount we had received so far. I think it was 1,100 pounds.
Yeah. And Robin's been asked to go and present at other locations because our program is going so well. She's now considered a master composter. Sorry, Robin, I had to throw that plug in. I don't know what else to say.
Actually, Tiger, I got to talk to you about that. Probably you they want to talk to.
All right. I'm psyched about that. Tiger, this is great hot sunlight coming out right now. Solar is solar dumping power back into the grid, or are we using up everything we can create?
You're on mute.
Tiger, you're on mute.
We use up everything that we create so far. But to give you an idea, through May of 21, we had a total savings of just under $124,000. Trying to get the latest update. We'll know a lot more how everything's going, and including our CHP systems after about a year or two taking a look at it. But right now they're going very well. If you go onto the town website, underneath DPW and underneath buildings, there's the solar. There are links to our solar arrays, and you can actually see what's being produced. So today I went on and looked at the pool. I could see it going through the roof, as far as, because it was a beautiful sunny day right on the pool, wide open. That kind of, was nice to see. And these numbers only include the town hall, the pool, our DPW garage, and one building at the nature center and South School. But West School's coming online, and then they'll be doing the high school once the once the roof is done later later this summer. So, and that's a very large array at that point in time. So we're looking at, we'll be doing quite well once those 2 installations come in.
Tiger, out of interest, does the capital plan require you to go back and do an evaluation of the results versus the projections that were originally put forward from the whole financing and return standpoint?
It doesn't require us to do it, but we do it regardless. And then we anticipate having to report to the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, and the Town Council, specifically during budget time, to say exactly how we were doing. And then they look at a commensurate drop in our budget for certain line items. I took $5,000 out of the electrical line item for the highway garage last year in anticipation of the solar savings. So things of that nature they'll be looking at as well. So while it's not required, we do it diligently.
Right. Well, at some point, it will have paid back the original investment, and then we can then you have this reinvestment opportunity on the continued stream. So it's a great, it's a big step forward for New Canaan to have done this in the last two and a half years. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
I don't think we'll talk on complete streets. I'm going to invite Chris Herring and Bill Pollock to come and talk one time on the Complete Streets initiative. There's been a lot of talk on global cities trying to do emissions control and climate warming, and one of the big aspects of it is more pedestrian and bicycle traffic to reduce the amount of car movement. And with the advent of electric bikes and what have you, I think the Complete Streets initiative is a great concept, and hopefully we'll be able to fold some of that thinking into the plan of conservation and development and into your long-term planning as well, Tiger. Nothing new on transfer station and swap shop, but I'm not sure, Robin, if there's anything else to say other than we think it's a great idea. We're just getting ready to line up for it, or we think we might move towards that, or space might become available once the new transfer station offices are up and running completely.
Well,
Sorry, that's Tiger.
the guys are in there now. We got a temporary C of O, so they just went in yesterday into the new building. We'll remove the old building shortly. We are analyzing the inside of the structure itself. We have someone coming in to take a look at the old incinerator building with the hope, and we also have money in this year's budget to look for siting locations for a salt shed, proper salt shed, I should say. And at that point in time, that possibly opens up that entire area, depending upon the lifespan of that second incinerator. But our thought is once we get moved in, we can then utilize the office area that was there prior for a portion of the swap shop, and then extend out from there. We're COVID's kind of killing us a little bit in that regard. So we're waiting before we start to bring in volunteers and bringing people together again, since we're now trying to social distance again. So
Yep. I hear you.
And we did, Plant New Canaan people did go recently, and it was in July, to the Darien Swap Shop to see what they're doing. And they've, can give an update. They've actually limited some of their hours, and they are now closed on weekends because it became a little too popular. And as you remember from our tour, it's right when you come in is the turn up for the swap shop, which the first selectman at that meeting said she wished it was in a different location. But Tiger, we're still good if need be, with the first being like a tent, still doing a Sustainable Connecticut fundraiser for it.
yeah, our thought was to, mafia block walls with a tent structure on top of it. It's what we had originally anticipated in the electrics recycling area. And then the doorway to the old offices is right there, and we're gonna gut the inside of that. We had a water main break inside the building a couple of months ago that we are having to fix, but it's a fire service line to the transfer station, and we're in the process of doing that, and we'll gut that area, and that can be utilized as well. So you have like a full indoor area and then an outdoor area. at
Okay,
present.
great. So we can raise 15, I mean, hopefully we can raise 7,500, then the $7,500 match for it.
Yeah, we talked about that. We'll be able to match that.
So
Right.
15, that's great. Okay, that will be exciting. Get that up. And again, another recycling opportunity. I haven't seen much water usage messaging. Have we come through that a little bit, or are we still in a drought?
No, we're still in we're still in a reduced time frame. Yeah, as far as water usage, 2 times a week per Aquarian's mandate. But they haven't had us do many out calls or anything of that nature. At a little bit different than last year. We've been getting doused, a good amount. Every week or so we've been getting doused pretty well. So they haven't needed to resort to that, but they are still on the reduced usage 2 times per week, and only for established plantings. Newer plantings you can water a little bit more.
Got it. All right. As approved, the Conservation Commission budget is 24,000 with an allocation across sustainable CT activities, water testing, and awareness programs. And we'll see how we evolve going forward and how we utilize that. And now spend some time on just Bristow and get an update on where things stand. Tiger, if you can give us an update on Bristow's phase 1, phase 2, and walkway.
Sure. The phase 1 and phase 1A with the walkway are both under Peter Lonnie, contractor. He at present is installing sidewalks for us on Brinkerhoff, Mortimer, and Lockwood, redoing all the sidewalks in that area. So he's been busy doing that. And while trying to procure materials for the boardwalk itself, there's a difficulty getting the diamond piers and some other materials to actually then go work his way over. So while he was waiting for material procurement, he was able to secure the bid to work on the sidewalks. We've got him finishing that. Then he'll come over and start at Bristow doing the phase 1A boardwalk. And then I talked to Bill Pollock this afternoon. They're finalizing the plans for phase 2. He's hoping to have that in my hands by August 30. And our thought is that if we have it by August 30, I can get it out on the street at that point, bring it back around the 15th, get it to the selectmen, and then have someone working by October 1. They said it was a good time frame, and it's about a 6-week build. So that's an October 1 to November 15. And at that time, there's 2 or 3 punch list items that are required on phase 1 that when Peter comes back to do the boardwalk, he'll do that, and he'll bid on the second phase and possibly win that. We might have the same contractor going through. But they're Keith Simpson Associates is very excited about the second phase, and he thinks it's going to be a very nice phase for the entire park itself. And then and then we'll jump forward into the third phase the following year.
Right. I think that's encouraging. I was hoping it would move a little faster, but I appreciate the challenges on materials, and maybe Lanny lucks out and the cedar prices come down a little bit by the time he's ready to place his big order. So
right, it's been difficult. Material procurement's been tough, and every contractor. I spoke to 2 contractors this afternoon on separate issues, but then I wanted to get their feeling on material procurement and availability of contractors, and everyone's having difficulty, but everyone is slammed. Everyone's working, and they're actually having to then jump projects away to try to then work on the materials that they've got. Everyone's hoarding the materials and then working forward, but the contractors are flat out busy, and materials are tough to come by.
Right.
That doesn't bode well for pricing, but we'll see
We'll see.
how that goes.
Two things to follow up on. One is we did get funding for the pavilion through several grants. So I'm hoping that Bill will include that in the bid package. Although there is an advantage for the bid package to come in below the 100 mark, right? I'm trying to.
There
back-
is that, yeah, for certain other aspects, yes, for
Got it.
other requirements.
We
We can
might,
certainly bid it as an alternate, or we could do it separate, either one.
okay, well, we should include that because my sense is that as we, go into the third phase, that when we show progress to the Board of Finance and the Town Council and the Selectmen, and they see, look at this, another round of great improvements, it improves our chance of getting that third phase funded, so. And
It
it
would be
also,
nice to bring him out there and actually sit him underneath the pavilion when you ask for that third phase of funding, right?
not a bad idea. And I'd also say, I was fortunate to tour Bristow with one of the larger donors to the Friends of Bristow Park. And actually, I've had 2 tours, and there's some appetite for supporting the Bog Walk and Bird Blind, as well as the Hilltop Lookout. So I think that the progress we make not only helps us with town funding, but also helps with Friends of Bristow funding,
Mhm.
which is great news. Quick question on this is, do you have the latest balance held by the town from the Friends of Bristow transfer, or is that not yet available?
I have I asked the finance today, and let me say it's unaudited, right? So Christie's away, right?
Yep.
So Christie manages that, so I couldn't go to her, go to the go-to, but I believe it's around 76,000, but I'm not quite certain. Yeah, it appears that we took in just under 90 and spent just under 14
Got it.
at present, but I got to confirm that. It's over a 3-year fiscal period.
Mhm.
Makes it a little bit difficult to see how it travels.
And I'm pretty sure that 35,000 of that is spoken for as the share of the raised walkway project. So
Correct.
there's probably about a $40,000 fund there. And
Right. We haven't allocated that 35 over, so that's correct. That's why I say it's still got a little bit. We've got a couple of things still on order that haven't been charged back to it.
Mhm. Right. Okay. And then I'll have to work with, I think next week, I'm meeting with the presidents of the Service League of Boys to, they want to do a project in Bristow as their town project. And I thought getting them involved in installing that fernery, moving some logs, putting down wood chips for
Mhm.
trail and planting ferns and things like that would be a great project for them. So they're going to, I'll find out more on Tuesday when I meet with them as to how they want to take that on. But I suspect that would be like an October project if the planting material is available.
That would be good, because our thought was that when Peter's in for phase 1A, he would come in and prep that area for you as well, since you'll have machinery there. So whatever you needed that was of a machinery basis, he could take care of at that time. So
Right.
that'll fit with the timing.
Great. And then one last point on that, the several New Canaan High School classes raised money to do a little memorial for a gentleman named Jim St. Clair. Sven, I wonder if you remember that name.
Jim St. Clair was my principal in high school.
Mhm.
He graduated with us in 1971 and went on to some other place. But he was a real human being for a principal, I'll tell you. And considering the size of the classes that we had back at that baby boom bulge, he was a very understanding man.
You mean to say he got you out of hot water on occasion?
He didn't bust us at Ward Pond Ridge for senior skip day. He was really understanding, about the post prom party. What can I tell you? It was the 70s.
Well, what's interesting is that, he left in 71 and he only passed away in 2021. So he had another 50 years up in Canada, apparently, where he was a big naturalist and did a lot of work with nature. So I guess he kind of appreciated you guys skipping out to Pound Ridge as opposed to Playland, I guess. So anyway, Tiger, a bench has been ordered, but that's the classes are meeting from like September 15th to October 15th. The bench has been ordered, but it's on back order because it has to come from Indonesia, so we won't be able to install that. But they have asked for, they also funded a pin oak tree that they'd like to have planted. So I would like to get that planted in the first week of September, and I can transfer the funds for that, but I would need to get permission, I guess, from Bob and I guess Bill Pollock for the location of that tree planting.
Yeah, Bob would have to say yes, just as the tree warden.
Mhm.
I can talk to him tomorrow about that. And then planting in September shouldn't be an issue. Will
I'm
be
going,
planting, or will the Slavs be planting, or? will
no,
be planting?
I think we're going to contract somebody to come in, somebody with copia like Henry or somebody. We'll get
Okay.
from them. And I don't think I want to scarf resources from everywhere. If we order it, we'll have the funds with you, and then we'll pay out as needed. I was hoping if Lonnie was on site, but I don't think he'll be on site by September. So if he
It'll
is,
be tight.
it'll be tight.
Early September, it'll be tight. Mid-September, yes. Yeah, he's got a couple of weeks left where he is now.
Okay,
Couple, 3 weeks left.
got it. And I know Christie's away. I know 2 other benches were shipped. I don't know whether they've arrived at Moses Depot yet. But if maybe
I
I'll,
did receive, I got 2, and I don't know if they're for you. So I think that there are 2 others that are spoken for in other locations, but
yeah,
I'll
these are,
check.
yep, these already have logos, written comment. They're engraved, so it would be pretty obvious. If you could check, that'd be great.
I will.
All right. Any other observations or questions regarding Bristow and how it's going?
It looks great.
It's
Huge improvement. It is.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Whenever I walk through, there's a lot of people there.
That's, I think that the master plan, or part of what we've succeeded is, I don't want to say revitalized, but it has become an asset in this cycle. And what I really get excited about is, watching some elderly people enjoy the main trail, but also watching moms with little kids wandering around the pond and walking through there. It's
Seems like a safe space.
yeah, it is. It is kind of a safe space, and that people I meet in there are all pretty, really happy with what's going on, and they love watching the little changes and the little improvements that we make. So I'm pretty excited. You all know that we had to take down and clean out all our bird feeders because of the I guess I'm not sure what they're even calling this. It's an unknown bird virus that causes eye infections and vision loss, and particularly on fledglings. But I'm hopeful that by September, October, when the feeding cycle starts up again, we'll be able to redo it. But we'll probably, along with keeping the feeders filled, we'll also have to have a program of taking them out and cleaning them and putting them back up regularly.
Yes.
A tough cycle there. So, okay.
Sorry, the Audubon did have that program yesterday. About the,
Oh yeah, they had a Zoom conference, or?
yeah, and you could ask Patrick, if he would be willing to share it, if you could put it on the Conservation Commission page.
Okay, that's a great one. We have the IT, so if we can get it over to Lola, maybe we can get it up. Got it. Thank you, Robin. That's great. So if it's all right with you, we'll move forward on discussion about open space and another aspect that I think the Conservation Commission will play, or may be asked to play a role, or could play a role in, is the potential allocation of the American Rescue Plan. Is it American Recovery Plan or American Rescue Plan? I might have that wrong. I think it's a recovery plan, ARPA funding. And I've made the case in a couple of quarters that public space and sustainability should be two focus points for ARPA funding. Public space because of its equity, its accessibility, its diversity, and sustainability because of its conservation values in all we do. So it'll be an interesting process, and it's got to be very difficult for the town council and for the Board of Finance and all to say, you know, what is eligible for funding, because those rules are very strict, and how should we allocate towards those eligible funding opportunities. But I believe that this is a good time for the Conservation Commission to stand up and say some of those funds should be directed towards public space, which was one of the most heavily utilized assets of our town in this cycle. And now that we're about to go through another mini cycle, or who knows how these cycles will play out, that our public spaces are more heavily used than ever. And we've got hard data on that from WestCog and just observationally. And then on the sustainability side, with more people at home, more people doing less travel, Tiger can easily report on how much of an increase in tonnage is coming through our transfer station as a result, and thus the need for us to work in that area, as well as other areas of, you know, livability and sustainability. I don't know how that will move forward, but I wanted you all to be aware that I think that this is a good moment to say some of those funds, if possible, should be directed in those two directions in that area, and that doing that would be consistent with the plan of conservation as well. So plan of conservation and development. Any comments from commissioners regarding that or guests?
Yeah, we'll probably have a meeting on a Tuesday night later on this month.
Mhm.
24th and the 31st or
Mhm.
something like that. Is that right, Robin? You're muted, dear.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was the 24th or the 31st.
Right.
I don't think
Um,
it's been,
There'll be a public meeting, of course, but you know, we'll see what we can do. It seems like the main thing is that whatever we determine is something that we should spend money on that goes back into the economy, right? So we can't spend it on reducing taxes.
Mhm.
So we can't just hold on to it. You know, we have to disperse the funds.
Got it. So it can't go into the reserve
fund.
and be released from the reserve to reduce the rate of increase or change.
That's right.
but it can though to cover revenue loss. So money could go in the general fund for the parking that was lost.
And that may be a portion of it for sure. And I understand that these funds are separate and apart from anything that might go to the Department of Education or the Board of Education.
True.
So it's it obviously behooves us to be very thoughtful about what public space and sustainability opportunities there are for us to invest for future returns of clean air, fresh water, reduced fire and carbon in New Canaan. And I kind of always wonder, I never really think New Canaan wants to be the first out in any of these things, but I think we should be thoughtful leaders in conservation, and that I think is, our role on the commission to be thought leaders regarding conservation in New Canaan. So that's why we're all here.
Chris, I have a question with regard to that upcoming discussion on how that'll get spent. Is that it sounds like that's kind of the first discussion, but do we want to, if it is the first discussion, do we want to be, front and center with a suggestion and a ask, right from the beginning?
I think that I would, what I'm trying to understand is, and this is always a challenge, that'll go off and that's a fundraiser probably trying to get me. That'll stop now. What I'm trying to work on is a little bit of where the top-down guidance will come from the town council or the board of selectmen in terms of if the funds come in and it's basically everybody just puts forward what they want, how that money gets allocated is a little unusual. But my experience in corporate capital allocations is that at a very high corporate level, there's a decision to move funding towards these areas, to say, we're going to do international expansion, and that's going to take, this much of our new capital. We're going to refurb our fleet, which we think is going to be about this much capital. Hold on. And what I'm trying to get to is to make sure that the town, from a top-down perspective, says we need to allocate out in these broad measures, and then within those measures, look at the best programs that can be done. And so that, John, you don't want to be in a situation of saying we want to invest in the public space, but we have to then compare it to a TDAC signage investment. There should be a higher level allocation. And then once that's done, within the conservation or within the public space and sustainability, what are the best opportunities? Not trying to compare a sustainability opportunity with a TDAC opportunity or a not-for-profit public health opportunity, because you're in an apples and oranges situation. It's very difficult to get there. But if you can say within that, this is where we want the allocation to be. And that's where I think the initial influence should be. But at the same time, I take your point, which is, what are the list of opportunities that we should be working at for public space enhancement or improvement and on sustainability issues? And I think the good news is on the sustainability side, there's dollar leveraging opportunities, and there's a whole list of opportunities that we could pursue that can make the town, do more recycling, less carbon emissions, and all the other, and more equitable. So
I take that. Yeah, that's a great kind of construct. If the town is having that same thought process, right? And then is there an ask, just maybe a percentage ask of the amount that you dedicate towards this?
Well, I've been talking about a third, which seems a little generous, but I think there are 4 different groups that are looking at opportunities, one of which is the Board of Finance, which may say, okay, this is our revenue loss, this is what we get. And then the other 3 groups, which are TDAC, which is the Tourist and Economic Development Group, which is the business support group. There's the Community Foundation, which is looking at all the not-for-profits that operate in town. And then there would be hopefully the Conservation Commission, which is looking at the public spaces and sustainability opportunities. So
Why wouldn't we coordinate our request as being a support to TDAC? Why wouldn't the public space and sustainability have an economic benefit to businesses?
well, my observation is that you could make that argument that, when I see people and young families moving in to town from say New York, and their whole existence in New York has been apartment and public park with a young child, that's how your life evolves. You live in your apartment and you go to a public park for some breathing time, then you go back to your apartment. When they come to New Canaan, they're looking at, part of what they're looking for is great schools, but also great parks. You can make the argument, but I would prefer to say that TDAC evaluating a storefront signage program or a advertising program is going to have a different set of criteria than a public space program or a sustainability program. The truth is,
I wouldn't disagree with you, although I think that's very short term. I think what we're asking for is much longer term,
right.
and with a return over many more years than just a business signage program.
I hear you. And that's part of the dilemma, which is that sustainability and conservation and public spaces are long-term investments.
Yes.
The return comes out and plays out over a very long time, whereas it has a whereas a lot of the other potential investments have an instant impact, which is what part of what they're looking for. But I find that, and again, it doesn't take much to take a look at the entire town budget and say, if you were to allocate the town budget of say 150, what percent or what proportion is going towards conservation versus all the other things that we have to do. And so I view this as an opportunity, or a great opportunity, for the town to, step in and address some of these public space and sustainability issues and opportunities that we might not have addressed, because they're always at the bottom of the list. They're always number 2 or 3. And this time is a chance to say, let's make some of those numbers 1 and 2. It's going to be a challenge any way you do it, but I think that we need to have some guidance or some support at the town leadership level to say, we also need to do we also need to invest in our public spaces, and we also need to do this. And it's always something that's done either at the end of people's terms, when you see presidents signing all these national monuments and parks on their final period, or when there's a great opportunity to do it. And this may represent an opportunity. And it's not a new idea. I read New York City is going to allocate, they're getting a very big slug of money through this, but they're allocating $250 million to their public park system in terms of what's coming across. So, and that's and I think that a lot of towns, and I don't know if this is true, are trying to figure out what's the top down kind of strategic level I want to arrive at versus the bottom up just scramble of bring all your new ideas, if they add up to 50,000, or they add up to 10x of what we're getting, as opposed to more of a top down. This is where we want to push things strategically. So, and the truth is, you got to make the case top down and bottom up regardless. I mean, you still have to fit.
I like your order of magnitude 1/3 ask though, as a starting point.
And yeah, 1/3, and could it end up something different? Possibly, but I think that there needs to be a sort of a guidance level at the highest level of where we do things. And I do think from an equity standpoint, public spaces and sustainability, benefit all. There's not a selected group. It's an all benefit group. And we need to, make our case in that regard. And equity is an important part of ARPA spending.
I think you've made a great case just now.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm so happy that that there are town councilors who feel in a similar fashion and recognize, they've dealt with, in the entire period, there are so many competing needs for funds under limited conditions. And this is a funding opportunity, is I guess the way to look at it. And, we'll be paying taxes to the federal government and the state of Connecticut, ad infinitum to cover this, but we shouldn't be shy about saying this is an opportunity to invest in our public space and our sustainability programs. And we've done a lot. And we didn't get to bronze sustainability by not doing anything.
Yes.
This is an opportunity to get to silver, and perhaps with a little more energy and a little more support. So that's what I'm thinking in that regard. I don't know if there are any other comments from any of the other parties. Okay. We had a very good, let me just follow my agenda again. Well, that kind of gets us to where we are. I'm going to circulate the open space criteria memo to the 4 of you, including Marty, one more time to get some more feedback. And I'm going to try to dial it in to be more specific. That's the beginning of the process to feed into the plan of conservation and development. So I'd like to keep that on a low boil so that we're ready. And then we had a great discussion or a great presentation last meeting regarding leaf blower noise abatement. And I'm not sure whether we'll be able to get to a specific recommendation in that regard now. And I know that there are different pressures, but I had a couple questions, and I'm glad Tiger's here. And it'll start like this. You know, my observation when I go to Home Depot and I look at leaf blowers is that it's now at least 50% electric and just a few gas. And so that at least at the residential level, more and more residentials are moving towards electric and quieter and you know, less polluting in a way. But I don't know what's happening at the professional level, and in particular at the town level. Does the town consider electric as a viable option for land care at this point? Or is it gradually experimenting with it or moving towards it?
We have procured a unit so to test, and then we've been talking to people around and looking, but at present, no, it's not an option for us. We would need somewhere on the order of 8 batteries for one unit for one guy, you know, to make it through the day, maybe make it through the day, right? So the a little cost prohibitive, and then given the amount of airflow that comes out and the amount of acreage that we have to cover, at present, they're not there yet.
Well, Consumer Reports did do tests on them, and these newer models apparently do stand up against it, you know, well against the gas blowers.
We haven't seen that yet, and my counterparts in other towns, including Westport, are all opposed to it from a municipal level. From a, you know, from a residential level, or, you know, possibly from a landscaping level, maybe, but from a municipal level, no, not at present.
Tiger, I had this question for you. I mean, when you have a leaf blower that's gas powered, somewhere in the truck is a gallon jug of gas, you know, or a 5-gallon gas jug, so that they use up the gas, they go back, they top it up, and they go back out onto the site. I mean, eventually somebody's going to create this, like, you know, egg case that holds 8 batteries in a row that gets plugged into the truck or gets plugged back in to our solar powered DPW building overnight, charges, and then they just take that with them, and they lose, you know, it's like reloading a gun. I mean, to be as poor analogy as that is. And so that there's ability to simply say, pop out the old one, put it back into the egg case, take another one out, pop it in, and you move forward. So from a logistics standpoint, I understand you have to make this gradual substitution of gas to electric. So if only you can put it on the radar screen, or have it's something
that's been on our radar for a while. We've been watching that electric powered chainsaws, you know, for, you know, because of that exact same thing. Plus, you don't have to worry about, you know, gas spillage and things like that. And for a quick cut, you know, I've wanted one in my vehicle for a quick cut during storms, right? So I don't have to worry about gas and oil at that point in time. I just got to worry about the battery itself that can be plugged into the cigarette lighter, and then the saw itself, right? So I'm all done at that point in time. So I can actually go out, or, you know, our supervisors can. But we are looking at them, but at present, our feeling is that they're not there yet. Yeah, but I envision the exact same thing. I've got I have a DeWalt system in my house, and I've got 6 chargers lined up on my workbench, and they're all plugged in, waiting to go, and, you know, pop one off, pop one in, and, you know, you go forward. But at present, we're not where we're comfortable, where we could say, oh yeah, we could transition over.
Okay, I think that just like the town moved forward on solar, at some point the town may move forward on electric. And the great point about the discussion also, which started as it's a noise abatement issue, these gas powered blowers and trimmers and everything are pretty loud, was what surprised me also was the health effect. And that these motors, these what are they, 1-stroke, 2-stroke motors, they're 2-stroke motors, they only burn about 60% of the fuel, so that it's ejecting a lot of fuel.
Worse than that, Chris, they eject the oil that you mix in with it. I mean, they're incredibly polluting, those two-stroke engines.
Got it. So there was this noise pollution, and then there's just straight pollution. And then there's this health effect for everyone who's operating these things, which is pretty tough. So it was I'd have to say it was an eye-opening discussion. And I do get the fact that, you can't just mandate this stuff. It needs to be worked through. You have to think about substitution. You have to look at, I think if we did a survey of, take a look at all leaf blowers sold in the United States, what percent are electric? It probably went from about 1%. It's probably at 5%. It's probably going to climb. It'll eventually substitute out, I think, or gas powered. But it's a question of, are we going to be able to, in New Canaan, do a curve? And I bring it up if only because I was in Holland 2 years ago, and I noticed all these guys working in the park, and they were all working with electric, which is very low volume, so that everyone's enjoying their park and not hearing this incredible whining of all these people blowing leaves and keeping the place tidy. So it also helps with just general public appreciation of public spaces. So there are a lot of arguments for it. The economics need to be worked through, the industrial, the capacity needs to be worked through. But I like the argument. And I think that that'll be something else that when the time for the plan of conservation and development comes in, we can highlight opportunities for not just for the town, but for residents and for the landscaping community, which I think is probably the second or largest third industry in New
Yeah.
Canaan.
Probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly we could do something to raise awareness within the community. I think Robin and I spoke about that, and perhaps we can come up with some kind of an awareness campaign with the green organizations in town and see what we can do.
Right. And again, that may be sustainable Connecticut. I love tying this back into a silver star. I'm a merit badge guy from way back, let's I want the town to have just a huge sash of merit badges and things like that.
You were a great Eagle Scout. I
No,
think we got
I'm like,
out of that.
all my I have golf shirts with every kind of logo on it that you can think of. So if that's an opportunity, it kind of makes it fun, and it gives everyone a sense of we're accomplishing things, and we're following, we're using the best ideas out there to do it. So
There was a letter that was sent, I guess, to the first selectman, then to town council chairman, and John Engel did say that they had recently asked the Conservation Commission to make a recommendation, and that they've reached out to the police commission if it's going to be possible to police such an ordinance. And he says it's now being discussed by our ordinance committee and will come to the town council for this discussion in the next few months. So it'd probably be good to reach out to John Engel to ask, because it appears they're looking for a recommendation from the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, John Seal, actually, he couldn't be at the meeting today, but he spoke to John Engel, and John Engel told him that he needed to have the Conservation Commission's recommendation, just as you said, before they brought it before the town council as an ordinance. But I'm not sure
Yeah,
we're ready for an ordinance yet, but that's for you guys to decide.
no, but I'm just saying the recommendation. This was another resident on Clock Tower.
Oh,
sorry.
other than John Seal, another resident?
A different
Oh,
resident on
okay.
Sunset Hill Road, I'm sorry, Sunset Hill Road.
Okay.
So I don't know, just something to ask, because if they need a recommendation from you, from the
All right.
Conservation Commission, it might be something.
well,
I think we're in a position to want to recommend something, aren't we, Chris?
yeah, I think that we can play this advocacy role, and that instead of the town councilor saying, well, we don't want to do this, or we do want to do this, it's the Conservation Commission's role to initiate this discussion, or at least to tee it up, and then the town council can debate it back and forth as publicly elected representatives as to the pros and cons. But we need to present the case to allow them to have a valid discussion on it. to be honest with you, I would be very conservative in how we present the case, you know, which is, we might just say, well, we need to really work on awareness for a period of time. We need to point out some facts. We need to point out the
Right.
health, noise, and pollution aspects of it, and just say, you know, what steps can we, you know, respectively take, and then also show an example of 2 or 3 other towns' ordinances in this regard. My observation is New Canaan doesn't want to be the first person to put an ordinance on the books, but is willing to follow when they see how it's worked out in other municipalities, whether it's plastic bags or other types of events. So
Mhm.
Well, Greenwich has an ordinance, just one per property. I don't know if that's going away post-COVID, but currently it's only one leaf blower allowed per property. Westport does not have an ordinance. I know it was reported they do not, they're working on it. Scarsdale, though, just approved an ordinance that goes forward in 2022. And that is going to be electric only from January till September 30th. And then October through the end of December, you can use gas powered.
Got it. So they're playing the heavy leaf cycle for
Yeah.
gas, but for the rest of the time, you know, for blowing the leaf clip, the grass clippings, they're saying use electric. You don't need the same power base.
Yeah, and Lewisboro sent out a survey, and I don't know if that's something the Conservation Commission would be interested in doing to gauge interest.
It's possible. Again, this is all, you know, if we can do this within a sustainability or a public spaces argument, I'm all for it. So I think we can kind of hang on either of those two big.
I think equally important is the health issue. And I know other communities that have done this, not necessarily in our area, but I know my sister works in Virginia at a hospital, and they have banned all gas powered leaf blowing because it is an accelerator of asthma. You're blowing all this shit in the air that you've put on your lawns, and you're not helping anybody at all. And actually, I would never compost leaves that come from the street, because if they're just filled with these poisons and these stuff that people about put out on the street that they already put on their lawns, I don't want any part of it. So I don't think people understand that what they put on their lawns, what they blow into the air, has to come back somewhere.
I gotta go.
I think that's why we need to raise awareness. And believe me, there's ample research on it. There's
Total
so
research. I
research.
completely agree, Linda. There's a ton of research on this.
Well, then let's get that specific. I haven't seen anything from John in that regard, but then Linda, let's do something. Let's write a thoughtful, you know, 1-page memo on our thoughts, and to say that, you know, we think the town of New Canaan, as part of its, you know, along with solar, should be looking at noise pollution, gas pollution. Because, you know, this is just carbon.
Right.
And I agree, Susan is right. These things are blowing a ton of dust up in the air, the health effect.
Right.
Also, so it does make sense for hospitals not to want to have it.
Oh, they do not.
Got it. Okay. I'd like to know if there are any other discussion points. I'll take them up now, but if not, then I've got it at 7:33 PM. And I'll move, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Seconded, John?
Second.
Okay, meeting's
So we have
adjourned.
2 seconds. How exciting.
Thanks all. Robin, thank you so much. Tiger, thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
all.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.